One of the more bizarre videos is Harry Styles' Adore You. And this one is going to touch on a lot of symbology and a lot of sort of behind the scenes interpretation and understanding of sort of how things work. So if you follow the creation account, you have different kinds of people that are being created over time. And one of the days, the fifth day, is when the fish are created and the birds are created. And think of fish living in the sea, think of birds living in the air like angels, and think of like the Red Sea. It turns out the word red also means reed. So like when prophecy says that the Messiah will not break a single reed, that's what he's talking about, going through the Reed Sea or the Red Sea and being able to stay effectively on dry ground. That's kind of the idea of splitting the water. But so his longer version talks about erota, by the way. That's just adore backwards. That's the concept of the Bible, is the mirror image or going backwards. Harry's got another video where he's riding on a motorcycle backwards. That's the idea. You're just kind of going through life backwards. That's the depiction of a dog in the Bible. It's a backwards God, lowercase God, but that's the idea. Is you're backwards. You're going backwards. It's like Ham's brothers recovering Noah in the tent after Ham uncovers him naked and drunk in his tent. So they have to go back and backward. That's kind of the idea. Okay, so anyway, this song, Adore You, depicts a fish. And the fish is really important. So the fish is the concept created on day 5 of the creation account. And then day 6 comes and rescues that fish. So the fish that are the angelic beings, so the birds are angelic and then the fish are in the sea. So you have these two sort of opposing sides that witness each other. That's kind of the idea. But then the cross comes on day 6 as Eve is created. So when Eve is created, then that creates the womb and the ability to cross bloodlines. Okay, so what's going on with this song Adore You is this fish grows and grows. Harry puts the fish in a coffee pot. That's the idea of staying awake, remaining awake. Remember, Jesus kicked his disciples multiple times in Gethsemane saying, hey, look, you need to stay awake, you need to stay awake. And they never do. They keep falling asleep. It was a cycle of 3. And that's kind of the idea of coffee. So coffee is frequently used. He uses the same comment in his song Falling, when he says that the coffee's out in Beechwood Cafe. That's the idea of like John 21, where Jesus says, hey, come over to the beach, have breakfast with me, roasted fish. So we're talking about fish, and that's the consumption. So something else too is like the Apostle Paul had scales fall from his eyes, and he appealed to Caesar. So the idea is, and this is kind of a visionary way to see it, I think, but it helps close the gap, I think. Think of the Caesar, so like the king of the sea, and Paul had the scales fall from his eyes. So it's like the scale of judgment falling from his eyes. So the sea of people judge, and they continue to judge. It's like the church. The church continues to judge, and that's the reason why Jesus can't come back, because it's this sort of epiphanical prison where you have to have an epiphany to realize what's going on, and you don't. And the church hasn't. So what it doesn't realize is it does judge, and as long as it judges anybody, then it automatically judges itself. So when that happens, you're being stuck in the sea of people, of judgment. So that's the concept of adoring you and watching you grow, and eventually you're going to grow, and you're going to figure out your way out of this box of life, which is the concept of the church being the whitewashed tomb and needing to be cleaned from the inside out. So that's the idea of the fish and adoring you in this particular song. So he makes a comment about your wonder under summer skies. And then brown skin and lemon over ice. The idea is you're cleansed. You're cleansed in the sun. You're baking in Egypt, sort of thing, and your skin is turning bronze or turning gold. And that's the desirable that's a desirable effect of this human experience. So it's like the idea of gaining experience and gaining life, wonder, and understanding as you continue to experience this this sort of division. So then you become that attractive other half as the silver and the gold, sort of come back together. I think is the best way to describe that from a biblical perspective, because that's what the currency is silver and gold, but both are valuable in currency. So Harry's lyrics in this particular song really drive home this kind of idea. So he's talking about honey. So honey refers to the sweet produce of the land, the produce of the bee. Think of Samson's riddle, where the belly of the beast was full of honey. John the Baptist ate honey, but also Jonathan in the wilderness ate honey, and he had to die that day. So that's the idea. Harry's referring to something that he desires and wants to adore as honey. That's kind of the idea. Then he immediately follows that up with, I'd walk through fire for you. So that's the idea of hell. So Jesus said John the Baptist said that Jesus would come to baptize with fire and spirit. And Jesus said later that he lamented that he had to go through another baptism, and he wished the fire was already kindled. Well, it wasn't. He had to kindle it. But the idea is walking through hell in a self-inflicted sort of way. Somebody decides to be a disciple, and that discipleship process is it's like being elevated and not being able to go back, and living through this torture of division, torture of self-deprivation, where you know that you can't access or you can't be around the other side, or you can see it but you can't say anything about it. It's like you have to be a ghost in your own skin, in your own world. It's actually really fascinating. But the way Harry depicts that in this song is, hey, I want to adore you. I want to see how you operate. That's all I want. You don't need to say or do anything except for, be there and be around. That's it. So anyway, I think that's really an awesome statement.